Hi there, welcome to the Raven's Call. I'm Eric Wordweaver Sjerven, Goalie of the Ridgar folk here in East Texas. I'd like to welcome you to the show. This is a show where I ramble on about different heathen-related subjects, just whatever catches my fancy at the time, lights my mind on fire, as it were. Sometimes it's about more esoteric things, spiritual things, religious things, cultural things. Today's going to be a little bit more, it's going to bridge the gap between a couple. Specifically, it's going to be about cultural, but there's some esoteric elements to that. But before we get started, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the nitty-gritty. If you guys like these videos, if you like and enjoy getting these kind of heathen-related videos in your feed, click like and subscribe down below. Subscribe will keep you up to date on everything that I'm doing. The more you interact with my videos, the more like them you will see pop up in your feed. So interact with the videos. Definitely give it the old thumbs up and subscribe. Ding the bell if you want to stay up to date. All my other contact information is listed down below. Feel free to hit me up however you'd like. Please join the group over on Facebook, Word-Weaver Productions. It's where I get most of my interaction stuff going on. You should see relatively soon my new review show going up on the channel. That's going to be Raven Reviews, and that's where I'm going to go through and talk about a bunch of different stuff and give my reviews on them from this one particular heathen's point of view. So I think we'll have some fun conversations come off of that. So anyway, be looking for those here coming up. Matter of fact, you may already have an episode of it up by the time this goes to air. So we'll see. Anyway, so onwards to today's subject. Today I want to talk to you guys about the subject of hold oaths. I've talked a lot about tribe. I've talked a lot about different things with relation to the cultural elements, social hierarchies, things like that, of the social construct and the social contract that ties together that particular construct. Well, today we're going to talk about one particular facet of that process, and that's called the hold oath. Now, there's going to be a lot of different terminology used for the oath. Some people just call it oathing, some people call it a hold oath, tribe oath, kindred oath, things like that. And they take different formats depending on the specific tribe and culture involved. Because let's talk about the essence of what a hold oath is. Basically, a hold oath is the swearing of fealty between members of a social construct. So, like within a tribe, the hold oath is a formalization through oath of reciprocal responsibility between the different levels within the tribe. Fancy way of saying, let's say, within like my tribe, within Ridgar, we have the Godi, my Jarls, my Carls, and then my Fostra, which are my fosters. Carl being freeman level, Jarl being more of a position of responsibility, and of course Godi being the leader of the tribe. That's Godi, Geithia, or chieftain, chieftainess, plus the whole priest element. Watch my video on Modern Role of Godi to kind of get that view. It all depends on how your particular tribe is structured. But for us, each of my Jarls swears a hold oath to me, and I swear a hold oath back to them. And the hold oath itself identifies the individual involved. So that's one of the steps. You identify the two individuals through the oath. Specifically, when you stand up and swear your oath, typically it's customary to give your name and lineage kind of thing. From a legal standpoint back in the day, this would be a declaration of identity for all of the gathered individuals that are bearing witness to the oath to know that you are who you are. Plus, it's an opportunity to honor and bring to bear your ancestors in relation to this tying to this oath. It's fairly formal in most legal oaths, as it were. Anyway, and then from there, you swear to basically, the reason I'm hemming and hawing on this was because the actual format of what you swear varies from oath to oath, because it varies from tribe to tribe and from kindred to kindred, whatever. But essentially what you are doing is you are swearing to support one another, and the lower echelon is swearing to support and follow the upper echelon, to have their back, to be their swords in times of danger, to be workers when time needs, things like that. But you're also, swearing to, I will defend you when things get rough. I will be there for you when you need me kind of thing. All you need do is call and I am there. Because the lower echelon has a responsibility. Go back and watch my video on reciprocal responsibility to get an idea what I'm talking about there. See how these things all come full circle? It's kind of crazy. Anyway, the lower echelon has a responsibility to the upper echelon, which is then reciprocated by the oath from the upper echelon to the lower echelon. I phrase it that way because terminology varies based on tribe to tribe. Like what I was talking about with ours is, as Godi, all of my Jarls swear a hold oath to me, and then I swear a hold oath back to them. Now, I've described to you kind of what the Jarl type thing would be. They swear to support me, to be there for me, to support the tribe, defend the tribe, things like that within the bounds of this particular oath. And then from there, I would swear a reciprocal oath wherein I vow to, provide them with the store of luck of the tribe, to support them, to have an open seat in my hall, and to include them in this oath web. So basically, the reciprocation is the sharing of luck and to guide them, etc., etc. Again, it varies. Exact wording is going to be different based on region, what kind of cultural aesthetic you're pulling from, but the essence of an oath is you identify the individuals involved, the specific thing that is being oathed, and then the recompense if the oath is not upkept. With hold oaths, typically though, I do not see what we call shield or shuld, depending on region, etc., etc., etc. I don't see that typically set with a hold oath, and the reason for that is because the understood recompense for the result of breaking this oath or failing to honor this oath, of betraying it, is to be cast out of the social construct itself. If you violate the hold oath, then that's where the repercussions come in, and it's a big oath, so it's not like minor things are going to violate the hold oath. It's major betrayals, major betrayals of frith, major betrayals of whatever bounds you set out within the hold oath. And I do highly recommend writing out and formalizing a hold oath. You really want to pay attention to the terminology that's involved. So, because they are so binding and there's so much to them. And I say that, we're going to come back to the whole binding thing because there's an essence to the hold oath which people need to understand. And we'll come back to that, okay? In essence, though, like I said, you don't necessarily need to set shield because shield is already set. It's understood from a fundamental level the violation of the hold oath is that you will be cast out of the society in which you are swearing into, or if the upper echelon betrays that hold oath, then that lower person, the lower echelon, will then withdraw their support, withdraw their fealty, and remove themselves from the influence of this individual. So comes back to what I was saying before, we'll come back to here in a little bit, and that's about the release of the hold oath. Okay, so let me remember that, people. The hold oath itself, as far as, like I said, the swearing is that reciprocal fealty. It is the shared responsibility and loyalty. It's not just the lower echelon. I don't want to say lower echelon, the lower tier of the hierarchy swearing loyalty to the upper tier. The upper tier is returning that loyalty. So that's a big thing. That's a huge thing. And whenever you're bringing somebody into a tribe or you're giving them a position within the tribe, it's a reciprocal ownership of one another. You're becoming part of the web. And let's talk about that a little bit. The essence of a tribe is that you tie weird together through oath. You've got those individuals that are, and in my next video I'm going to go into some essence on the whole Hearth clan tribe elements. I just wanted to handle this one first. But anyway, when you bring somebody in, you've got the clans that are all tied together, etc., etc., etc. And there's blood ties, there's familial ties, marriage ties, things like that. a hold oath is a way to bring someone into the fold, per se, and share and mingle that weird on an almost familial level, without them actually necessarily being a familial level, if that makes sense. The essence on this is that it creates a tie in weird. It binds the two together and unifies this relationship. It formalizes this relationship and creates an anchor in weird. Look at my gravity wells in weird to kind of see what I'm talking about there. And I throw a lot of throwbacks, but it all kind of comes full circle. And there's a reason I do some of these weird spin-off ones, is because they build on stuff for later. So the hold oath itself creates this anchor point. It ties your weird together, and then from that you branch off. The reason that it's called a web of oaths, the oath web, is because it's not necessarily a straight line thing. It's like you're going to see, there's a couple of different formats. You're going to see some people who, like in a sometimes kindred format. I use the term kindred loosely there because what we see today as a modern kindred actually frequently is pulled from a coven format that has been kind of twisted to fit a tribal mentality, and so it's kind of a weird hybrid of the two. And in that kind of setting, what you have frequently is that everybody will either be loosely associated without any kind of formalized oath tying anything together, which is fine, but there's a lot to be gained from the oath. Then there's the one where everybody oaths to each other as kind of a big, everybody shares an oath together and we're all one big circle. And there's some problems with that. Fundamentally, there's some protections in place that are not in place that a hold oath web can help prevent against. For instance, let's say that this entire circle of people is all oathed to each other. Everybody shares an oath together. If one person violates that oath, then the entire circle is damaged as a result. Not just everybody who witnesses and is tied together, of course, their weird is impacted by this betrayal of the oath, but everybody who is holds the oath becomes significantly damaged by this betrayal. And so if you break that apart and you create a tiered system of oaths, such as, Gothi oathing to the Jarls, Jarls oathing to the Carls, and then Fostra not having an oath because they're not formalized members of the tribe yet, as in our instance of a tribe. That's our kind of oath layout. In that, if, say, this Carl over here violates their hold oath to the Jarl, then this is the only strand of that web that falls apart, as opposed to the more Dreamcatcher style interlacing that you would see if everybody's oathed together. You have one individual that falls off and then all of these strands splinter, and groups tend not to survive that. Creating a tiered system, a web of oaths, allows you to catch a little bit more than that. It creates a stronger tie by kind of diversifying a little bit. With smaller groups, this is more difficult to do because you just don't have that many people involved. But as you grow larger, if your group does grow larger, the flexibility of an oath web style helps to preserve the tribe. Its levels of security for the weird of those involved. Its levels of security for the upper echelon, because whoever holds the hold oath of the echelon below them is responsible for that individual and their behaviors. They're also responsible to that individual. And of course, all of that feeding up the chain to the Gothi, the Lord, however you want to lay it out. I know a lot of recons will use the Lord and Vassal kind of motif, at least from what I gather in conversation. Again, I'm not a recon. I usually get that little blurb at the beginning. I'm not a historical heathen. I'm not a recon heathen. I'm a modern heathen with roots in history and tradition. I'm a growing, changing, living thing. So that's just what I do and how I do it. Now, there's some great resources out there on recon heathenry if that's your bag. Highly recommend hitting some of these sources up because there's some great research done, especially about things like hold oaths. Because this is something that you see in a lot of the, like specifically the hold oath, the oath web kind of thing, you see in some of the more formalized mainland later era heathen stuff. You also see it in some earlier things, but not nearly as much as the later stuff. Not a lot of it comes through in the Icelandic sources because their layout was a little bit different, and you don't necessarily see these kind of things. Stuff like that may not necessarily have been written down in the sagas because it was just understood, but their Gothord setup, lack of a king kind of deal thing as their law entity. Iceland was its own beast and very, very different in that respect from mainland Scandinavia or mainland Europe kind of ways of going about things. Okay, so the hold oath itself creates ties between the different points. If you think about it as a web, each individual is an intersection on the web, and the hold oath is the string that ties the two individuals together. By branching that out a little bit, by having the Gothi here branching to each of the Jarls, and then each of the Jarls branching out to Carls underneath them, or freemen, or whatever it is that you call them in your tribe. I'm just using our terminology because it's easier for me. You diversify that. And so if this guy over here violates the oath and frith of the tribe, and he has to be cut out, we only have to sever that one line and he's gone, as opposed to trying to sever all of these lines, which is never clean. It's never easy. And it's problematic on a number of levels. Plus, any negativity that he brings in impacts the whole more heavily if everybody's oathed together, as opposed to just the individuals to whom they hold oath. So it's kind of why we diversify through an oath web. It's stronger. And it's not necessarily like our layout is only one way of doing it. I've seen a number of layouts where people vary how they do the hold oath and how they do the oath web that don't use a tiered hierarchical system, but still diversify by new members coming in and oathing to members within the tribe, but not necessarily being picky about which level they're at. I've seen those where freemen can come in and oath directly to the Lord or to one of the Lord's vassals, depending on their choice. I've seen some tribes where they'll come in and they'll do like the year of worthing or whatever their time frame is, and then at the end of that be given another year as freemen and women of the tribe in good standing, but not yet members of the oath web. And at the end of that year and a day, whichever format they use, they're given the choice of to whom in the tribe they would like to swear their hold oath. It varies from tribe to tribe, and I haven't necessarily seen one system that I would hold up as the end-all be-all of systems. I see benefit to each of them, and I see shortcomings in each of them. I see shortcomings in our own system, and I'm constantly trying to work on that and to kind of turn that into as strong a thing as it can be going forward. But we're constantly growing, we're constantly learning. That's the entire point of this. So, is it perfect? No, not by any means. Is it historically accurate? No, it's not historically accurate. Mine's not designed to be that way. But the essence of the hold oath is based on historical research. There's a number of sources you can read. I read a bunch when I was trying to go through and build our hold oath. I keep looking over there because I have a copy of mine on the wall. But I'm not going to share that out with the public because that's inner yard and this is outer yard. So sorry guys, I can give you an idea of the essence, but I'm not actually going to give you my verbiage. that's for my tribe. So anyway, let's come back now to what I was talking about before. Because the level of security that's allowed, we need to talk about the release of the hold oath. Okay? Because the hold oath, in essence, the way that it's set up, and it's not all-encompassing as far as it doesn't offer. It's an oath of fealty, but it's not an oath of like, I control you kind of thing. It's not an oath of subservient ownership. It's an oath of we're going to work together and support one another. That's a key thing to think about there, okay? Because a lot of people are going to look at it like some power trip, some lord doing this, and it's an agreement between two individuals that we're going to work to help each other within our specific positions within the tribe. And we're good with this, and we have to both be good with this, otherwise this doesn't work. It's willfully entered into, and it can be willfully exited at any point in time. So that is the key thing there, is that at any point in time an individual can talk to whom they hold the hold oath, and they can dissolve that oath. They can withdraw their fealty. They can back away. Or the individual who is in the upper echelon, the position of control, power, whatever you want to call it, can dissolve the lower hold oath, release an individual from their hold oath, essentially. If someone, let's say you've got a member of the tribe who you've brought in, thought they were going to be great, they turn out to be toxic, and you turn out to need to cast them out. Okay, you may have spent years working with this person, living next to them, interacting, and this person may just have turned out to be a toxic individual and a bad decision. They happen. Everybody makes a bad hire every now and again. People let in the wrong people in their inner circle. I'm sure as I'm saying this, a number of you out there, probably most all of you, are thinking about individuals that you wish you'd never tied your wagon to. And thinking about the negative impacts of having tied your wagon to those people. Well, the design of a hold oath is so that it can be released. So if this person turns out to be toxic, the person who holds their oath can officially release them from their oath. Releasing a person from the oath doesn't necessarily cast them out of the tribe. It depends on your tribal setup. If the oath is necessary for membership within the tribe, then of course releasing them from the hold oath casts them out of the tribe. If not, then all it does is remove them from the oath web, which they may still be tribe. They may just not be in that epicenter, that inner circle that is the heart of the tribe, that is the oath web. Because those individuals with the oath web tie weird and luck together on such a level that it bleeds out and affects the individuals around them and then the community around them. All centered around the seat of the luck, who is the leadership position within the tribe, be that chieftain, gothi, whatever position it is you use, lord. That individual becomes the seat of the luck, the epicenter from which everything branches and radiates out. So with that, the hold oath ties them in and kind of pulls them into that gravity center, and they feed into that tribal luck as well as benefit from it. Again, reciprocal give and take. These individuals that are maybe not part of the oath web but are still within the tribe, or at least within the tribe's auspices, still are a part of that, just not to the level of the people that are in the hold oath, the oath web. So you can release a person from the hold oath and then either cast them out of the tribe, or the release of the hold oath itself is the casting out of the tribe, depending on your setup, like I said before. And this is a way to cut ties, a formalized cutting of ties. If somebody turns out to be a cancer or toxic, you can snip that line and let them go. And then cast them out, make them outlaw, just whatever it is that is specific to your tribe and your culture. That would be the next step, obviously. If that's necessarily the thing. Some people may just want to step back from the hold oath because they don't want to be as involved as they were before. You know, they're going to be a bit more absentee, but they still want to be part of the tribe, but they're not going to be there for, you know, the level of involvement that they would feel comfortable being part of the oath web, because they think they may end up becoming more of a drain than a benefit. And then it's up to an interaction between them and the person that holds their hold oath as to whether or not it's appropriate to dissolve the oath. Is it? I don't know. I can't tell you. It's a case-by-case basis, person by person, tribe by tribe. Only you guys can know whether or not it's time to dissolve that oath. So that's a thing. And the hold oath itself is just kind of a neat deal to really begin to understand, if you're into kind of the mechanics of culture and how that works, the anthropology kind of side of things, sociological elements. I love it because it's so fascinating, from a formalization of the social contract element. Plus, there's a lot spiritually going on here, because you are formally tying weird together. You are binding spiritual energies and creating that gravity well and weird that's going to impact your relationship. It's going to impact their standing within the tribe, the benefit they may pull from the tribe, the benefit they may bring to the tribe. And so it's important to think about these things and think about the format that you want to use, if you want to use a hold oath system at all. You don't necessarily have to use the hold oath system to have a tribe or kindred. I know individuals that do not have oathed units, but they tend to be more loosely based, more kind of social gathering than being what I would refer to as a tribe, just as far as terminology goes. Is there anything wrong with that? No. Fits them, fits their culture. Cool. Good on you, whatever. This is how I do things, this is how we do things, and this is how I know a number of other tribes do things. It just varies as far as the specific mechanics and layouts that are used to develop those that web and whether or not you use it. Okay, one of the key things that I like to point out with the oath web and why it doesn't fall into that dictatorial kind of king relationship kind of deal. In a way, it does because of the way old kingship would work, and not the overly simplified, dramatized versions of it that we see within media. Is the whole give and take, but it's the sovereignty of the individual is the deal. We're not talking about a tyrant situation here, where the tyrant holds all sovereignty and all are subjugated underneath the tyrant's will. That's not the purpose of a hold oath. The hold oath is a declaration of relationship between two sovereign entities. Just because you swear a hold oath to this individual does not in any way remove your sovereignty as a hearth. You know, your hearth remains sovereign and is respected to that within the bounds of your hearth. All it simply says is within the bounds of tribal structure, within the tribal culture, this is where you fall, and this is how this relationship works. Okay? So with all of this being said, I urge you guys to go out and do the research that you want to do and look into whether or not a hold oath would be appropriate for your tribe, and if so, what kind of format might it be. We may revisit the hold oath in the future, and some of the specifics and things like that, depending on reception of this video and interest by the individuals out there. Plus, we can have some conversations on the Facebook group about how different tribes go about doing things. I'm not going to be one that's going to come out and say you're doing it wrong to individuals that choose to set their tribe up a certain way. I may not necessarily view your tribe as tribe by the definition that I use, but that doesn't in any way impact the sovereignty of your particular social construct, and therefore, not my hall, not my call. So, do what you're going to do, you know. So, without any further ado, I think we're going to wrap up today. I want to hear from you guys. I want to know what you guys think about the hold oath situation, what you think about, oathing in general. It's an incredibly important thing because, when you swear a hold oath, it is ceremonial. It is, it's a big thing. It's not just a simple deal. It's a formalized ceremony. And you are bringing somebody in officially into the oath web, so it's a big thing. And so I kind of want to hear what y'all's experiences have been. This is a subject that I could go on about for a while, but I've already been talking for about a half hour, and give or take, minus whatever edits I have to do. So I don't necessarily want to just ramble on forever, but it's kind of a primer and introductory to the subject. Kind of get you guys thinking about it a little bit. So give me some feedback. Let me know what you guys do, what you think. Read other people's comments down below. Get into conversations. It doesn't just have to be messages to me. Other people can kind of message back and forth. As long as you keep it civil. No more fights in the comments, guys. I don't like that. I have to break those up, and I don't dig it. So anyway, thank you guys for watching. I really hope you appreciate it. I'm going to take this second here at the tail end to, because what brought about the whole hold oath conversation is that we brought 2 new members into our tribe this past weekend, and I want to give a shout out to Robert and Amber. You guys are awesome. Welcome to Ridgar. I'm glad to have you in the oath web. You guys are fantastic. So I'm glad to call you tribe. So everybody, hail. Thank you. May your ancestors smile on you. Oh, all right. Gonna try and film if I can keep my head straight. You got all kinds of monitoring and crap going on at work. For those of you that don't know, I work in foster care. So we've got all kinds of state stuff. It's a thing. Anyway, we're going to give this a try. Hopefully today we can talk a little bit about hold oaths. Give it a shot anyway. All right. Me. Warm-ups and stuff. All right. Oh, here we go. Let's try this in 3, 2, 1. Let's jam. So, coughing. You guys don't know, we're having an exceptionally wet season down in Texas right now. The last couple of years have been just ridiculous as far as wet weather going into the summer, which means our pollen is through the roof because I live in the piney woods, and it's absolutely ridiculous. Oh, it's crazy. Anyway, coffee. Taking a short break for a second before we go back. A lot of people liked my thing on the last video about oofta. Oofta's a great word. I love oofta. I'll come back to stuff like that in the future. So, coffee. All right. And we're back in 3, 2, 1. Let's jam.